Hello, hello, hello. Right, we'll just turn the music off. Getting very technical here. How are you? Welcome to Developing Mindfulness. So it's been a while since we've done, or since I've done some of these live sessions, and of course, everyone's had a wonderful summer, I suppose, with the sun and the heat. And I hope you've all had a chance to get away or spend some time relaxing in that heat. And wasn't it a hot one? So throughout the autumn, winter, and spring, I like to do these very, very short live sessions, and we'll be looking at various topics that are associated with meditation and happy life living. So tonight we're going to be looking, or sorry, depending on where you are and when you're watching this, we're going to be looking in this episode at developing mindfulness. What is mindfulness? What are some quick tips to develop it? Now, I'm going to be looking out for messages. So if you want to ask a question, if you want to ask something, then you can do that. You can leave a comment. Oh, here we go. Thank you very much. We've got some comments coming in. Oh, there we go. So you can ask any questions, and then we'll get started. I'm looking out, just waiting for everything to come online here in terms of your questions and bits and pieces, and then we'll get started. So now, wherever you are in the world, mindfulness is a very important aspect that you probably are going to want to try and incorporate in your life. Mindfulness is very much a gateway to meditation. And if you're a keen meditator, then you obviously know the values of mindfulness. Now, if you're in the Heart Mind Yoga Facebook group, then towards the end of the session, or at the end of this session, then we'll be doing a very short piece of meditation. And if you're not part of the Heart Mind Yoga meditation group, then you can find that on Facebook, Heart Mind Yoga Meditation, and we'll be glad to see you there. Tips and tricks and things to lead a more mindful and meditative lifestyle. Now, there are different approaches to meditation and meditative living. But one of the key ones is definitely mindfulness. And mindfulness is very different in some respect to some of the other types of meditation. We talk about Zen meditation, tantric meditation, mindfulness meditation, of which we're talking about now, focusing meditation and chanting meditation. They're all different types, but mindfulness is perhaps one of the easiest to learn. Now, if you've not joined me on a StreamYard before, then you can, in advance of the show, if you're going to join another one, just register your details, and then you can comment. And you can even come on and be live and part of the show. If you have any questions, then please do type them away. My name is Mark. I'm a meditation teacher, and tonight we're looking at developing mindfulness. Now, what is mindfulness? Now, everyone has a different understanding of what mindfulness is, but for me, mindfulness ties together highly focused concentration with a general awareness and a receptivity. Or a receptive awareness, not only of yourself, but what's going on around you, or a union between yourself and what is going on around you. So mindfulness can be a very important thing for you to have in your life. Now, if you're a very busy person, and I've got some tips and tricks later about how you can incorporate mindfulness. Now, because a happy life is about having a foundation in anything that you're doing, then mindfulness is really no different from that. You have to start with some very super simple exercises to build that foundation. Now, when people learn to meditate, they first of all learn mindfulness. It's the core skill to be able to go on and meditate in different manners. And ultimately, the goal of mindfulness is to develop a capacity to be fully present. Now, are you fully present right now? Are you fully present with what's been going on in your life today? Are you fully present with what's going on in the world? And I'll give you some examples a little bit later on about how we might not always be fully present. Now, as I like to say, and those of you who come to classes will know, being fully present right here, right now, in this time and in this place. And it's such a rewarding skill to be able to have, because when you are mindful about yourself, when you're mindful about the world that you live in, then you also seem to generate a certain degree of positivity. You become more appreciative for some of the more simple things in your life, because there is a lot that we take for granted, and just sometimes being able to key into those is very, very important. Now, one of the key ways that you can focus and develop your mindfulness is about stabilizing your concentration. And there are various ways that you can stabilize your concentration, primarily through your breathing. Now, breathing is a awesome exercise to be doing every morning. Now, if you're like me, I get up every morning and I do my meditation and I do my breathing exercises. I have a whole suite of breathing exercises that I do on a regular basis. Breathing is very, very important. It's important because it's the gateway between your mind and your body. And being mindful of your breathing allows you to become mindful of your thoughts. So it all starts with being keyed into your breathing and your body and your environment. And then when you're able to discern those things, then you're able to start and discern and become more aware of your memories and your emotions. And then you're able to, I wouldn't say choose your memories and emotions, but definitely you become more aware of them, and you become more aware of your interactions, not only with yourself and how you deal with your emotions and your memories, but also about how you deal with the emotions of other people. Now, I always, my brother's a great example. If someone cuts him up and he's going down the motorway and someone pulls in front of him and he has to tap his brakes, he'll blow them a kiss. And I don't know how you feel about that. I think it's quite hilarious and it always makes me laugh. But other people can get really, really irate. They can do all kinds of hand gestures and they can do all kinds of shouting and swearing, which really isn't necessary. When you're more focused about your emotions through mindfulness, then you're more focused on how you interact with other people, which is very, very important. I had one teacher who said, when you point one finger, be careful because you've got three or four pointing back at you. So being mindful of your emotions, your memories, and your interactions is one of the ultimate benefits of leading a mindful life. So, if you've just joined, we're here talking about developing mindfulness. What is mindfulness? It's being aware of yourself. It's about being aware of your environment. And you can start that by doing very, very simple breathing exercises. And through that, that then becomes a gateway to look at your emotions, to be able to deal with memories, to be able to process information in a lot more logical way, or in a more logical way. Okay. So here we go. We'll go through this list of ways to develop your mindfulness. Now, I've just alluded to it there, or talking about focusing on your breath. Now, it might seem very, very unusual to spend time focusing on your breath and watching your breathing. In fact, for people who do it for the first time, it's very, very unusual. And it might feel like a bit of a luxury. I mean, really? Who's got 10 minutes to sit there watching their breathing? Seriously? I'm asking you to do that? Yes. If you can spend just 5 or 6 minutes, 7 minutes a day as a minimum, just watching your breathing and your breath, something very, very magical begins to happen. Now, you can watch your breath not by just being sat there in a room alone early in the morning. You can do it whilst you're doing your household chores. So you can be washing up, you can be watching TV, you can be out with friends, you can be shopping, you can be in the garden, you can be at work. Having that focus on your breathing starts to develop a certain condition in your mind that opens up your receptivity to the world around you. Now, I want to talk a little bit about breathing because if you consider that your day to day, when you are doing watching TV, you have thousands and thousands of frames per second coming at you. When you're reading a book, you've got hundreds and hundreds of words that you're trying to deal with. And in fact, when you start to macro out, when you start to look at all the information that your mind processes, it's astronomical. Absolutely astronomical. And it's no surprise really that our mind gets in a bit of a muddle, what with computers and TVs and radios and computer games and magazines and conversations and demands of everyday living. It's no wonder that the mind doesn't really have a chance to set up itself for success, or it's no surprise it can't deal with all that information super efficiently. Now, by contrast, when you pay attention to the coming and going of your breath, that actually slows not only your mind, but the speed and rhythm of your breathing. Sorry, of your body and your breathing. It's all interlinked. Now, typically, people will breathe between 12 and 16 times a minute. So that's a really good place to start, isn't it? How many breaths do you take in a minute? If you've never done breathing exercises and you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to give this breathing thing a go, then the first thing you can do is just track how many breaths you take in a minute or two and just see where your natural rhythm is. And of course, you're going to want to relax for a little bit before you do that. And it'd be interesting to see whether you're on the lower end of the scale, let's say, 10, 11, 12 breaths a minute, or whether you're up at the top end of the scale there, 16 to 20 breaths a minute. So maybe you could, after the episode, after you're watching this, just drop down there in the comments how many breaths you're taking a minute. I bet, some people go through the whole life not knowing how many breaths they take a minute. I'm on the lower end of the scale. I take very long, shallow, deep breaths. But do have a count for yourself and let me know in the comment section afterwards how many breaths you're managing to get a minute. Now, if you, now it's important, of course, that we do breathe at different rates, because if we breathe at the same time all the time, then there's, well, we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be living. So breathing is very important because its bandwidth changes with the exercises that we're doing. And sometimes we do need to breathe quite fast and quite deeply. But when you're breathing fast and deeply, you're normally breathing in this very top part of your lung capacity here, which is very activating to the sympathetic nervous system. So you can get quite stressed and you can get quite wound up. And actually, if you do full lung breathing, so taking all the air all the way into your lung and using your lungs properly, then you're going to have a lot more impact on your health. Okay, so the first thing then you're going to do, and we're talking about developing mindfulness, some very easy tips to develop your mindfulness. First one, breathing. Count how many breaths you're doing in your natural resting state. And when you found that out, then you can start and count those breaths, watching your lungs inflate and deflate as you inhale and exhale, watching the natural rhythm of your navel center as it rises and falls. Lots of different tips there we use in class to help people track with their breathing. Now, believe it or not, some people really can't do that. Some people, it's not for them. It's not their thing. All right. They don't want to sit there and count their breath. They feel very, very uncomfortable doing that. And for some people, it can be quite stressful. So, what are some of the other things that we can do to help with mindfulness? So, developing mindfulness. My name is Mark. Point one, breathing. How many breaths per minute? And spend 6 or 7 minutes a day whilst you're doing various activities, counting and monitoring your breathing at work, at home, wherever's best for you. Now, the second tip is about minding your body. Now, as I've said, some people find it absolutely impossible. Can't do it. So, what are the other things that they can do? Well, they can start and spend time watching. And this sounds very, very crazy, but it's a really good tip and it works for a lot of people. People with anxiety I work with a lot on this particular exercise is just wiggling your fingers. And you can do this in private. You might not, you might look a bit odd doing it. Not that it matters, but you might look a bit odd doing that, when you're sat on the train or something. Not that it matters, but you can do it discreetly on your lap. But, wiggling your fingers, wiggling your toes, and you can set a little timer on your phone, on your watch or whatever, and just be fully focused on moving your toes and your fingers. So, maybe you want to try and do this as well. This is a great way to start and develop your mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is not something that just comes. You don't do a few exercises and it happens. It's a foundational piece of behavior, and it's related to the plasticity of your mind. And we'll go into that in a different episode. But, the Buddha said, that it's a lot like mindfulness is a lot like tuning a stringed instrument. If it's too tight, it doesn't do it right. And if it's too loose, it doesn't do it. It doesn't play correctly. So mindfulness takes a lot of foundational practice. You have to do it on a regular basis as you learn about yourself and your body, your breathing and your body parts. That kicks in with that mind elasticity, plasticity, and allows you to transfer that skill into your everyday life. So, so that's number two. Then, just watching spend a bit of time just wriggling your fingers. And for those of you who've done this with me, I know it's very, very successful for a lot of people. It sounds a little bit crazy. I get it. I really do. But if you do this on a regular basis, say 4 or 5 days out of 7, wriggling your fingers, wriggling your toes, watching your breathing, you soon begin to become in tune with your body. Now, the third thing, I'm going to write these down so I don't forget. The third thing that you can do when you are developing mindfulness is about your expectations. Now, throughout our life, we have developed in such a way that you have certain expectations. And I'll give you some great examples. If you go do some work, if you go do a job, then your expectation is that you get money in the bank, right? If you go to the gym and you're going to go cycling or you're going to go running, you have a kind of expectation that you are going to get fit. Your heart rate's you're gonna affect your heart, you're gonna affect your muscles. You have that kind of expectation, right? Now, with meditation, I was just talking about the finely tuned instrument, about getting mindfulness just right. Yeah, a lot of people go into mindfulness meditation with this expectation that they can kind of do it a few times and bingo, everything is good. Everything is good. And if you want to look at the benefits of meditation and mindfulness, and I've got some other episodes that you can watch. Now, what you need to do with mindfulness and meditation is just drop the expectation from day one, really. I know it sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but you'll naturally reap the benefits of mindfulness and meditation once you simply accept that things are the way they are, and if you just apply yourself to doing them, then you're gonna at some point get the benefit. So I'm just going to run that through past you again. Okay. So hello, Facebook user. We've got a hello there. So yeah, you're there. If you do register for these series, and we're going to do these every Thursday, by the way, every Thursday from 7 p.m. across the autumn, winter and spring, then you'd be good to sign up just to have your comments and your name come up on the screen here. Okay, so we're talking about mindfulness, developing mindfulness. Number one, counting your breath, timing your breath. Number two, moving your fingers, moving your toes. You're going to do these exercises for 5 or 6 minutes, 4 or 5 days out of 7. And over a period of time, you're going to reap the benefit, but not to have an expectation. In fact, if you can lower your expectation, not so that you're not successful in what you're doing, but you don't then get anxiety or stress when something doesn't happen. I always say to people, prepare for the worst case scenario, but pray and plan for the very, very best. So you got a bandwidth of your expectation, and the same of that goes with mindfulness and meditation. Okay. Sensations of your body. So we've got 3 exercises here. We've talked about the breathing. I'm going to write these down so I don't forget them. We've talked about moving the body parts, the fingers, the toes. And in fact, some people will do a kind of swirling motion or a rocking motion. And we do these in class for those of you who come to class. Being aware of how your body works and moves. And yoga is great for that, by the way. The things you learn about your body doing yoga is absolutely unbelievable, but that is another episode. We'll talk about that on another time. Thank you very much, Francesca. I'm going to pin you up there, and I'm glad you're enjoying this mindfulness explanation. And I hope it's, you're a very, very busy person. I know you got loads of going on and you do loads of great stuff. You're awesome. So I'm glad that you're enjoying this. So if you just joined us, we're talking about developing mindfulness, your breathing, count how many breaths you're doing per minute, mind your body, learn how your body works, how your fingers sit there wiggling your toes, moving around and being really focused on it. And I suffer with anxiety and I need mindfulness and meditation. Well, anxiety, I work with people who have anxiety, and of course bipolar, which is it's a very, very difficult challenge to deal with. But these simple things are definitely gonna help you. Focusing on your breathing, count how many breaths you do in a minute, then spend 5 or 6 minutes a day while you're watching TV, doing the washing up, just tracking your breath, moving your body parts, your fingers, your toes, your ankles, your feet, and just spend 6 or 7 minutes every day doing that really mindfully. And then, of course, I talk about cats, really. It's like herding cats, your mind. I don't know if you ever tried herding cats, but and I haven't, but we have a cat and she's very difficult when she doesn't want to do something. She makes it super obvious that she's going that way. So it's a lot like the mind, really. The mind will want to do that. You might think, right, I'm going to watch my toes wiggle. I'm going to count my breath for 6 or 7 minutes. And then a minute in, your mind's gone somewhere else. And all you have to do is just very, very gently bring it back. Don't be harsh on yourself. Don't be disappointed on yourself. But soon as you've noticed that your mind has drifted from any type of mindfulness exercise, then bringing it back softly, very, very softly will help. Now, Norma, if you're watching this, Sue's mother, she loves to do coloring. She started coloring, and she showed us her coloring book the other day, and it was amazing. It was just very, very colorful and done with awesome precision. So coloring is another great thing that you can do to develop mindfulness. And actually, I do have a Zen style coloring book. You can pick them up really cheap. I think you can get them for like £1 or something from one of those famous name supermarkets, or a couple of pounds. And if you spend time coloring properly, that's another gateway to developing mindfulness. I'm going to write that down on the list so we don't forget to summarize that at the end. Coloring. So basically, what we're trying to do with mindfulness is just slow the mind down, because it runs at such a speed with all the information that it's the slowing it down is a perfect kind of antidote to modern day stresses and the information overload that a lot of us get. Now, another thing that you can do when you're developing mindfulness, and these are very, very simple things. I mean, mindfulness goes in tiers. There are some very, very advanced, focused pieces of mindfulness, but we're just starting at the beginning here, right? And this is how I started mindfulness: being aware of my body, being aware of my breathing, being aware of my expectations of others, my expectations of myself, my expectation of the refrigerator, the coffee machine, the car. Just being mindful. You turn the key on the car, in the car, and does it fire up? Does it go? Um, it's not about taking things for granted. It's just about being aware of your expectation, because you do have it, and it's crazy the expectations that some of us have. So just revisiting that inventory of expectations and just being mindful of them can be very, very helpful as a gateway practice. And we're starting right at the beginning here to developing your mindfulness. Okay, so what else can we do here? Being aware of whatever arises. And we spoke a little bit about my brother earlier on, when he's driving along and someone cuts him up. Over time, being aware of what arises in your life can help you make the right decision when you need to. So, what is a simple way of learning to deal with whatever arises? You're going to love this. It's cloud watching. Okay, this is a great mindfulness exercise. You can, in fact, there are various places locally here where they have cloud seats, and you can sit back. It's super comfortable, and you can just watch the clouds go by. And again, these kind of mindfulness exercises, they're very simple, super, super simple. But if you get into the habit of doing them regularly, then you start to grow and develop your mindfulness. Now, I've been practicing mindfulness for what, 8, 9 years now, 10 years. Maybe not quite that long, but for a very, very long time. And I do see the benefit of doing it. And cloud gazing is something I'm very, very fond of. Not only do you see super fascinating shapes in the sky, and that's a different conversation, but you can also start to temper your expectation and develop your sensation of being aware of whatever arises. So if you imagine the sky, the great big blue sky is your mind, and you'll see a cloud drift in and then it'll drift away. Okay, that's a kind of quality that is it's super awesome to have in your mental toolkit. Now, sometimes you're going to have to deal with information in your life very, very quickly. But again, the polar to that is being able to deal with information very, very slowly. Once you start and develop this wonderful skill of slowly accepting and watching what arises, then you, thanks, Francesca. Yep. Oh, there's a song with it as well. I didn't realize that. You'll have to let me know what that song is. Maybe we can play that with rights accepting. It'd be interesting to know what that is. But yeah, as soon as you start watching the sky a little bit, and again, you don't have to sit there for hours because you'll fall asleep. I do, but just 6 or 7 minutes if you have a lunch break or you have a few minutes in the day, and it's appropriate for you to do so. Just kicking back and looking up and just thinking, I'm going to allow my thoughts that need to be processed slowly to be more like a cloud in the sky. Kind of comes in and comes out. And of course, for those of you who attend the meditation classes, we spend time listening to sound. Sound comes from nowhere and it leads back to nowhere. That's another great way to develop your mindfulness. Sound coming from nowhere and leaving nowhere. In fact, when we do meditation, I know when we do it here in the classes locally, there's all kinds of things going on. There can be cars and aeroplanes, and ticking clock is a favorite, or voices. And actually, it's can be very, very useful to have this background information happening, these sounds happening, because it allows you to calibrate your mind, or be aware of the calibration of your mind. And in fact, I'm going to write that down as well. Listening to sounds. So I'm just going to summarize here. If you joining this, or you've skipped to the end, and we're going to tail off in a minute, because I like the episodes only to be about half an hour long. Then we've got 6 different ways. Oh, in fact, there's 7. My 7th one here is curiosity. Now, when you deal with anything in your life, or come across any new information, try and do it with a learner's mind, curiosity. Now, you might go on holiday, right? And you go to the most wonderful natural viewing point, or you see the most wonderful ancient ruin or monument, and you sat there looking at it, and you're wandering around, and you're being super interested in it. And before you know it, 2 hours has gone. Okay, the mind is captivated, it's learning new information. And actually, if you want to develop your mindfulness, approach every conversation you have with every person, if it's appropriate, as a kind of learning experience. What is it that person is saying to me? What is it I'm learning here? What is it that's stoking my curiosity? And when you have that kind of quality about dealing with information, then suddenly you start to process information differently. You become a bit more objective in the world that you're living in. So these are some tips here that you can use on a daily basis, developing mindfulness right from the beginning here, being aware of your breathing, being aware of Paul Hardcastle. Yeah, thanks for that. um, Definitely going to have to check that one out afterwards. I suppose some people watching this have probably never heard of Paul Hardcastle. It's definitely from my youth. Sorry, where do we get to? Yeah, so developing mindfulness. So breathing, count your breathing, how many breaths per minute, and then spend 6 or 7 minutes breathing, being conscious of your breathing, watching the rise and fall of your navel area. Number 2, spending 6 or 7 minutes, as is appropriate, kind of being aware of your body movement, your toes, wiggling your toes and your fingers, maybe kind of rocking your body or your head about. Dealing with expectations, being aware of your expectation of certain actions. You wouldn't go to work and not get paid, would you? And you wouldn't go to the gym and not get as fit as you wanted. So just being aware of what you put your energy into, that your vital energy into, is what you're getting back. You're getting something back from it. And, just being aware of that, just being aware of how that investment of your time and effort pans out in your day-to-day living. So you can do that for 6 or 7 minutes. Coloring book. Norma, if you're watching this, thank you for reminding me. Your coloring book, you can spend a few minutes a day coloring. None of these exercises need to, be long. I'm talking literally 5-6 minutes a day per exercise. Or if you even did these 7 exercises once or twice, 1 exercise a day, and you did it continuously, then very, very shortly you will start to develop your mindfulness, and wonderful things will start and happen in the mind. Okay, you become very much aware of yourself. You become very, very aware of others. You become very aware about what you need to do to progress in the direction that you want to with your life, with an activity. Okay. Number 5, being aware of what arises. We talked about the cloud gazing. You can do that. And then spending a few minutes, of course, looking at or listening to sounds. Listening to them come, listening to them go. Cars, airplanes are a great one. We do that a lot in class. listening to airplanes or rain. That's another really good one to listen to. And then number 8, of course, is about curiosity. I've just written all these down so I don't forget them. But being curious about what you're doing and the information that you can get from people that you're speaking to. So there we go. What we are going to do now is do a little bit of a very small meditation for those of you in the Heart, Mind, Yoga Meditation Facebook group. And if you're not a member, I could suggest that it might be a worthwhile couple of clicks joining. I'll see you over there. For those of you who are on Facebook, the page, or if you're watching this elsewhere, thank you very much for watching. Every Thursday, 7 o'clock. I'll try and keep them to around 20 minutes, half an hour, different topics. And look out for the updates. You can leave any messages below. And if you want to get in touch, you can DM, direct message me. And if you're interested in any of the classes that we do, then you can get in touch here. There's a little banner going across the bottom of the screen. If you go to the website there, marknichols.org, you can find loads of information about classes, live in-person classes. Susan does a bit of yoga. I do some meditation. We do these breathing exercises. And also coming up soon on the website, be able to download meditation and different lessons and other bits and pieces. And of course, you'll be able to find all these videos as well. Now, wherever you are in the world, I wish you well. I wish you a peaceful, happy, and of course, a very, very mindful week. Thank you very, very much for watching. Take care of yourself and others during these times. And if you're in the Heart, Mind, Yoga Meditation group, if you just hold on for a second, we'll make a start on tonight's piece of meditation. Okay. There we go. We just... there we go. Just going to close down some of these channels here. Okay, so all this technology, isn't it wonderful? And hopefully now we are just